All right, welcome everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Awesome. So today we're tackling intelligence testing. You've been digging into perspectives on intelligence testing, which is a pretty dense read, I have to say.
Yeah, it covers a lot of ground, that's for sure.
It really does. So we're here to break it down, explore the purpose of these tests, what makes them tick, and then look at their strengths, limitations, and how our intelligence changes throughout life. There's some pretty interesting stuff in there. Like, did you know that just believing your intelligence can grow can actually make it grow?
The growth mindset.
Yeah.
That's a powerful concept.
Totally. We'll get to that. But first, let's back up a bit. What are intelligence tests even trying to do? They're not just fancy brain puzzles, right?
Right. They're definitely more than just brain teasers. The tests you were reading about, like the Stanford-Binet and the Wechsler scales, they aim to measure cognitive abilities. Think problem solving, memory, language skills.
So they're trying to get a handle on your brain power potential.
Exactly. And the scores you get, those IQ scores, they can actually predict things like how well you might do in school or even in a job.
Okay, interesting. So there's some real world application here. But the book, Perspectives on Intelligence Testing, it brings up a whole bunch of concerns about these tests.
Yeah, there are definitely some limitations. Like one big thing is that they can be culturally biased.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So a question that relies on, say, knowing about a certain sport might favor people from a culture where that sport's really popular.
Ah, I see. So it's not a level playing field.
Not always. And the book stresses that. Researchers try to make the tests as fair as possible, using diverse samples and checking for bias. But it's a tough thing to get completely right.
It's like trying to make one ruler for something as complex as intelligence. And speaking of complex perspectives, also challenges how we even define intelligence in the first place. Like, it's not just about solving logic puzzles, right?
Right. There's a lot more to it. You've got creativity, practical skills, emotional intelligence. Those don't always show up on traditional tests.
So you could be a creative genius or amazing with people, but your IQ score wouldn't necessarily reflect that.
Exactly. And that's where these theories of multiple intelligences come in. The book talks about that, how it's not just one single type of intelligence.
That makes sense. It's way more nuanced than a single number. And something else that struck me, the idea that intelligence isn't fixed. I always thought you were just born with a certain amount of brain power, and that was that.
Yeah, a lot of people think that. But Perspectives debunks that myth. Dives into the idea of fluid and crystallized intelligence.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, fluid intelligence is your ability to think on your feet, adapt to new situations, solve those tricky problems. It actually peaks in early adulthood and then starts to decline.
So that's why I struggle with Sudoku now.
Could be. Now, crystallized intelligence, that's different. It's all the knowledge and skills you accumulate over time, your experiences. That type of intelligence can stay strong, even get better as you get older.
So even though my puzzle-solving skills might fade a bit, my knowledge, of history or whatever could keep growing.
Exactly. And that brings us to another cool thing the book explores, how intelligence changes as we age.
So what shapes that?
A lot of things, really. Your experiences throughout life have a big impact, like education, stimulating jobs, hobbies.
Okay, so keep learning, keep your mind active. Got it.
Exactly. But it's not just mental exercise. Perspectives highlights how important your overall health is. Physical and mental health, they both play a part. And don't underestimate the power of your environment, like having enriching experiences and supportive social connections.
It's really about the whole picture, isn't it? And speaking of things that resonated, I'm really fascinated by the whole growth mindset thing.
It's pretty amazing, right? Believing that you can learn and grow, it can really change your outlook.
Totally. Perspectives talks about how that belief that your intelligence is malleable, it can help you be more persistent, more adaptable.
And you're more likely to embrace challenges and learn from your mistakes.
So it's not just about being smart. It's about believing you can get smarter. That's a game changer.
Absolutely.
So to sum it all up, Perspectives on Intelligence Testing, it really drives home the point that while intelligence tests can be helpful tools, it's super important to know their limitations.
Absolutely. And to remember that intelligence is way more complex than just a number.
Right. It's dynamic, influenced by so many things. It's not just something you're stuck with. You can shape it throughout your life.
I completely agree. And as you continue to explore this topic, here's something else to think about. We've talked a lot about different types of intelligence, but what about emotional intelligence? How do you think that fits into the picture? How does that impact your success and well-being? Great question. Lots to think about. And that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so reach out with any questions or insights you might have. Until next time.